Welcome back, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Women Who Lead. And this week, we're going to be featuring three powerful leaders who are the driving forces behind some of the most recognized companies in the real estate industry. Each of these women lead by inspiring all of those whose lives they touch and by creating environments that foster creativity, encourage ideas, and support diversity, equity, and inclusion for all. Hello, my name is Teresa Palacio Smith, and I'm Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Home Services of America and HSF affiliates. And I am so glad that you're able to join me today for our cafecito, right? So that we can get an opportunity to learn about these leaders who are described by their agents and employees as empowering and relationship builders. I found this quote that I thought was fabulous, and it was perfect for today. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, and do more, and become more, you are a leader. And I'm telling you, grab your cafecito or chai or tea and join us for a special guest, the empowering leaders who are inspiring us to do more. So let me get started. Jenny Bonora. So Jenny is the president and CEO of Harry Norman Realtors, which is one of the oldest and most admired real estate firms in the Atlanta metropolitan market. As president and CEO for Harry Norman Realtors, Jenny Bonora oversees the operations of 14 offices, which also manages the partnerships in mortgage, title, and insurance ventures as well. She's very active and takes an active role in every aspect of the business. And Jenny has served also in the industry in various roles as well, and is a member of the Atlanta Board of Realtors, heads up the Leadership Institute in her company, and is the broker sponsor of the Young Realtors Council. And I met Jenny in 2017, and I still remember it when she became president. And I am so impressed by both her finesse and her grace and the respect that she garners from the people that work for her. I mean, I had Ashu Sharma, who's head of legal on the show, and Tamra, who's in HR, and both of them could not stop talking about how they love working for you, Jenny. Regina Coya. Regina is the president of Berkshire Hathaway Home Sale Realty and is one of four owners in the company. Regina is a member of the board of directors for 5 of the home sale companies, which includes Home Sale Realty, Mortgage, Settlement, Services, Insurance, and American Heritage Property Management. Regina oversees a highly regarded real estate team of 1,400 agents and employees with $3.6 billion in revenues and 14,728 closed transactions. The company has 34 offices throughout central Pennsylvania and the greater Baltimore and Annapolis, Maryland markets. And Regina embarked in her career in 1986 as a sales associate while attending Villanova University full time. And she's going to give us more details about how she got started in a few seconds. But I met Regina at our BHHS Elite event, which is of all the top companies in our organization. And I was so impressed with her background, which is also in relocation. And as all of you know, I came from that world as well, right? And she also is, I love that she's always on a quest for knowledge. I have to tell you, Regina, that's the one thing I always see. And you're always looking for the best tools and services to serve your agents and provide excellence in the customer experience. Cheri Smith. Cheri is the president of Edina Realty, the Midwest's largest residential real estate firm serving Minnesota and Western Wisconsin. As president of the brokerage, Smith provides guidance and direction to the company's 75 sales offices and more than 2,300 realtors. That's so impressive, Cheri. An advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, Cheri leads with integrity and passion and her company is committed to the community and also the legacy that was built by the founder, Ron Peltier, who happens to be chairman and founder of Home Services as well. So I met Cheri in 2018 when Edina Realty was the first company, it was one of the first companies to invite me to speak on diversity, equity, and inclusion to their team and their council. And her warmth and sincere passion touched my heart. And also all of those who are with her company. In fact, one of her agents, who's a good friend of mine, told me that the reason she came to work for the company was because of you. So I want to tell you how excited I am to have all of you on the show, and I can't wait to get started. So here we go. The first question that I ask everybody, which I think is so interesting, is tell me how you got started in the business, because we all want to know, how did real estate cross, or how did it kind of become part of your vein? So I'm going to start with you, Jenny, Cheri, and then end with Regina.
Sure. I feel like I'm in the company of greatness after all those intros. So well done, Teresa. How I got started in real estate, I was in a different industry altogether. So it was IT consulting with Accenture. And I loved working, I love the technology piece, and I love working with clients. And I thought, how can I take this and transition into something else that I love, but use these same things? And I loved real estate because there's no ceiling. There's so much opportunity, especially for a female. You can be with the best of the best people around you. And that was so intriguing and interesting to me. So I took my skill set in technology and working with clients and applied that to real estate. And like anything in real estate, it just sucks you in. And I wanted to let go. I love it so much and have been doing it for quite some time. I won't reveal how long, and nobody needs to count down the numbers, but it's been a pleasure and a joy, and I still love it. And every day is something new, and that's just part of the fun.
I love that. I love it. And one thing I did want to mention is that each one of us actually came onto our role in the same year in 2017, right? Regina, you actually also transitioned in that year into your role. So talk about how you got into this. Oh, I'm sorry, Cheri, we're going to go with you first. How you got into this business. And Cheri, thank you so much for joining us today. I have to mention that Edina Realty is hosting a big event for all of their team and all their people and their employees there in Minnesota. And I want to thank you you're actually not at your main location, but actually did this show from where you are today. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. And as I was thinking about my journey into real estate, and like Jenny, it was a few years ago, maybe won't say quite how long, but I had actually started out with some law firms, and with that was introduced a little bit to real estate and some of the accounting records and from that component. And with that, I ended up with an attorney. I won't name any names. I was right out of college and I had big dreams, big aspirations. I was working for a particular gentleman, and he called me into his office. I was fairly new into the role. He called me into his office and he said, "I need you to get me some coffee." And it took me back. All kinds of things were flooding through my head, and I looked at him and I said, "No." And he looked at me astonished that I said no, and said, "Don't you didn't hear me. I need you to get me some coffee." And like I said, I was new, right out of college. We had just purchased a home. My husband and I had just gotten married. And I said, no, I didn't work this hard to put myself through college and to be first generation college graduate to get someone's coffee. And I turned around with that and I walked into the office manager's office. I reiterated the story and I turned in my 2 weeks. My husband was shocked. I was a little shocked. But with that, I started combing at that time the newspaper ads, literally. And Edina Realty Title was hiring for a closer and somebody to start up their closing branch. So I started with Edina Realty Title about 3 weeks after that. And the rest is history. Been with the organization the entire time, had a lot of different opportunities within the company. But yes, I did get my start in real estate because of a cup of coffee. So it's kind of ironic, Teresa, as we're having this conversation over coffee.
Oh my God, what a beautiful story. And the fact that you had the fortitude and the bravery, right? To confront somebody, because I was asked the same thing and I actually went and got the cup of coffee. So it's like, because of my culture and my upbringing, I didn't have the nerve to say no. And I think that's just so courageous. And obviously, look at where you are today. So thank you, Cheri, for sharing that. That's amazing. And I know, Regina, you also started, but you actually started in college, which is really kind of unique.
Yes, it is unique. I actually was working as a waitress at a country club on the weekends, and while I was attending business school, and there were two levels of dining. One was called just the main dining area, and then one was called the Plymouth Room, and only men were permitted to go down there, and so therefore only male waiters were permitted to wait on them. So on the weekends, you can understand the golfers coming in from the front nine, all, wanting to get their food and everything. And they're running up the stairs with all kinds of cash tips and things like that. And I'm waiting on all the people who were betting nickels on golf games. And I thought, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to wait tables down there. There's nothing, nefarious going on. So I approached the manager and I kind of made my plea, and he said, okay. So I was the first woman to be able to serve in the Plymouth Room. So I knew I had this great opportunity. So I had to shine, I had to command the room and all that. So this man named Harry Caparo, this little Italian, fiery, cool guy, was watching me. And he followed me up the steps one day and he said, hey, why don't you come and sell real estate for me? And of course, real estate to a 19-year-old sounded pretty glamorous. And I said, well, sure. So started in with him, taught me, longhand in 1986. And then a year later, he was a visionary and he saw all the big companies, including Fox and Lazo, Roach Brothers, who ended up becoming Fox and Roach, in the relocation realm. And he said, hey, I want you to start a corporate relocation division. I want you to head it up. I said, well, what's corporate relocation? Sure, I can do it. And he said, I don't know, go find out. So, so that embarked me upon the second part of my career, and that it all went up from there. I never looked back. I graduated 2 years later and stayed on.
Well, and you've done so well, each one of you. I mean, if you look at these, you're all trailblazers, right? I mean, it's unbelievable because you had, hey, why can't I do that? And I love that attitude that you've had, Regina. And with Accenture, I am, I want to say, Jenny, they are to me one of the companies that I admire because they have been on the forefront of DE&I, and I love their videos. And so I always share them at different events because they really do create some wonderful opportunities for us to learn from. So again, great insight. So I know, let's kind of pivot and just talk about the industry in general just a bit, because I want to really talk about your leadership more than anything. But we are in a situation where we're battling, a lot of low inventory and challenges. And there's sometimes those scenarios where we just get, our employees get discouraged. So tell me about this year moving forward. How are you, what are you seeing as challenges that are, if you had a crystal ball, that are moving forward, or also that you face and how you've overcome in order to lead during these challenging and fun and exciting times as well, because it's a bit of both, right? And Jenny, I'll start with you, and then Regina, and then Cheri.
Sure. I love, and I think this is not specific to this year necessarily, but I love technology. It's part of just, it's fun and it's exciting and it's constantly moving. And I think consumers love technology because it allows them to see things and experience things within real estate that, maybe was different 2 years ago, 10 years ago, et cetera. But I think some of the challenges that I'm seeing within our industry are the need and the waning of expertise, true expertise and true service. And yes, technology should absolutely be a core component. We should always be on the cutting edge. And that's part of the reason why I love our company so much. but it's also really adding value and true expertise. And I think that that is first class service and expertise is a massive differential for within the industry, because you can have every kind of technology, but if you're not relating with people and you're not adding value to something beyond what they can find for themselves, then we're not necessary. And I wholly advocate that there is so much value to what we provide. So being able to articulate that and help our people really live that out is crucial and critical. And I think we have completely embraced it. And it's been a wonderful esprit de corps. So that was exponentially, like pour octane on it during COVID. So I think that that lifted us even beyond sort of the normal measure.
Gosh, I think that's so true. I really do, especially during the time where you saw people locked in and you really needed to have that relationship building and build your own expertise to be able to share to other groups. I'll touch base with you, something you said in a minute, but let me go to you, Regina, as well.
I will double down on that, especially in this age of, somebody said, the weapons of mass distraction. And there's always these shiny pennies coming in and out, and entities wanting to disintermediate our agents. And in my view, I mean, you could put 5 different economists in a room and they'll say something different about what's going to happen in the real estate industry, but I don't believe that we can ever be disintermediated. It's such a relational business. And Jenny, I agree with you wholeheartedly. We have to be a part of some of the best technology out there so that we can support consumers and our agents. But I'm finding, and we hear our agents saying that, co-op brokers, that they just don't know what they're doing, and there's no education, there's no training, there's no career development, and that's exhausting for agents who really put in the time, and leaders who are trying to help them through this, especially in markets like this where they're going through 20, 30, 40 offers at a time. So I totally agree with Jenny on that.
Gosh, it is a frustrating time in that aspect. And it's very frustrating for, imagine someone who's an immigrant and never knows the process is so different from, real estate transactions here in this country versus another country. So that's even more so in communities where that is a special expertise that we have to be able to share with our communities. Cheri, how about you? And I know you were in the heart of a lot of controversy and a lot of, explosive situations. So how have you been able to lead, and what are some of the things that you see that are challenges?
In addition to what's been said, and I agree completely, I would add that I think a lot of what I sense and I'm dealing with daily, in particular with our agents, and then that trickles through to our employees, is a sense of so much is changing in our world so rapidly, like you said, and we've been right in the middle of some of those eruptions and some of the social injustice. And as that happens, and as I look at it, if I'm an independent contractor and I think, okay, there's all these things coming at me, and there's all these other choices that are being thrown my way. Am I with the right company? Is this the right industry? Is the industry going to change? Is it going to be completely upended like other industries? That whole fear component. I think a big part of our role now and going forward is continually talking, empathizing, more importantly, reassuring that we are at the forefront of, I hate when we're referred to as a legacy company. It implies that it's somehow bad or not as good. In fact, and what I share with the agents all the time is we have all the experience, all the history, and we have the innovation and the forward thinking. Where would you rather be? Somebody just getting started and trying something new, or somebody who's been around for 60 plus years and can take all that experience, all that power, and continue to innovate? Innovation isn't just technology either. It's in everything that we're doing. And so challenging times, but really exciting times. And I think a big part of our challenge, but also that opportunity, is reaffirming those concerns, but also making them feel confident that they're with the right organization. We've got it.
And I think you kind of touched on my next question, Cheri. So I'm going to ask Regina and Jenny, because that is a big issue, and that is keeping people motivated and employees as well. So how do you do that during situations where you are constantly being hit with barrage of, so and so is brand new and that's the new shiny penny across the street and all these things? How do you keep your agents motivated, employees motivated, and all of the individuals that you're working with? Regina, how about you?
Well, so since we're a full service company, we have our leadership team is non-competing. They're non-selling coaches, mentors, guides for our agents. And so they are, and I know every one of them, and they each have their own culture, but they're like a tribe, and they care so much about their agents. So we need to support the leaders with, leadership development and, retreats and summits. Obviously with COVID, it was much, much, much more about keeping the lines of communication open. That they needed that more than anything. We were finding other brokers were not, their leaders were not present, and they didn't know what to do or where to turn, or the funds, applying for funds at the bank and things like that. So just a constant communication, positive reinforcement. We always have a great turnout at the convention. That's important. We all get together, over 100 people, and, just really helping them understand that we're there to support them. We have their back, and do a lot of kind of family type of get-togethers. So
I love that. And I know you've got a big event coming up too in October, which is kind of inspiring your leaders as well, which is great, because that's something too that you're constantly doing, is helping them and teaching them, right? Because we all need to learn what's new or different, or just kind of get reinvigorated. How about you, Jenny?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Talking about reinvigoration is celebrating successes. I mean, they can be small, they can be huge, but doing that in a collective way inspires everybody, because motivation can wane. I mean, let's face it, it can. But if we share each other's success and note that, then it's like, oh yeah, we're all working on the same goal. And I may have a tough day, but Regina's killing it, or Cheri's killing it. And collectively, we're moving in the same direction. And so we think about it more as inspiration, and then keeping our daily habits. Because even though the motivation might go, oh, you can't see my hand, there it goes. Even though the motivation might be wavy, it's those habits that keep the process moving forward, and that momentum, and it just builds. And it's fun. I was coming home from vacation last week, and I was like, I love vacation. It fills you up. But what's more exciting is I love coming to be back with and energized by the people I love working with.
Oh my God. And it's so true, right? And one thing too that I've learned also is that, and I'm sure that each of you see this, is everyone is motivated, and you touched on it differently. Like what motivates me might be, recognition. What motivates somebody else might be money. So it's all that getting to know the people, right, that you work with, and really what inspires them and how you can move them and making them feel good. So let's switch and talk about memorable things. Let's talk professionally, right? And also personally. So what has been, and we actually got this question, right, Regina, at one of our cinch, one of the guys asked the question, but what has been the most memorable event that impacted you professionally, and why? So so let me start with you, Cheri.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Regina. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay. We're talking about the cinch where we asked that. Yeah. So Cheri, how about you?
Yeah, I would say one of my most memorable, and been a lot, but one of the most, and it crosses over between personal and professional, but it was 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago, but I had started off in the career, and I, like I mentioned before, got married, but 3 years in, I had my first baby. And at that time, I decided I needed to be a stay-home mom, and that's what I wanted to do. It was my dad who had reached out, and he said, Cheri, I commend you for wanting to stay home. And he said, but I really want you to think about it. And I thought, this was, knowing my dad, this just seemed like out of the blue. Farmer, former Vietnam vet, he just didn't go there a whole lot. But his big message to me, and it was one that really landed, was you need to be able to take care of yourself financially. You never know where life's going to take you in the future. And if I get a little emotional about it now, it's because it still has that impact. But he said, you never know where life is going to take you. You need your financial independence. Don't totally give that up. Obviously, still married to the same guy. That part's been great, but we never know where life is going to take us. And along the way, I have seen many women who, for various reasons, have had to stay in situations because they don't have that financial independence. And I'm in no way saying anything to anyone out there who has made the decision to stay home with their kids. That is a wonderful decision, a fabulous decision. I tell young women that all the time. But something to think about and to consider is that advice and that direction that my dad gave me. And it did reshape my thought. It did reshape what I did and how I did it. And it's been incredibly impactful for me in a variety of different ways. And also that advice that I can now give, looking back, having made the decisions that I did, giving that same advice back to some of the young women who reach out to me for it.
Oh, wow. That's great. Thank you so much, Cheri, for sharing that, and touched my heart too. How about you, Regina?
Well, to bring a picture down for you. So this moment, I don't know if you can see it.
Yes.
That's my daughter. She was 8, and my husband. This was the year that to bring family and work joy. That was the year we won the Sendit Mobility Cup, and in 2004. And we brought our daughter with us to every place we went, at any awards conference, any conference, and people were so nice about it because I was a working mom, and we both had careers, and so she just grew up with us going to these things, and she had fallen asleep since she was only 8, and this award was the I don't know if they still have it now, but it was the highest level of achievement for brokers in relocation. And so she fell asleep, and then the time came, and it was 11 o'clock or something, and Bob woke her up. So right before that, it was only a couple of minutes before that, she was sound asleep, and my dad captured that picture. So I had a feeling we were going to win that year, and so I actually even brought my mom and dad, who were my big fans, big fans of our company. But really, the pat for the company part, it was a culmination of incredible passion and grit from the entire team, agents who slip their clutch to go to places that they never have been to try to service a customer the best way, and that just the whole team. It was amazing, and we were still a small company at the time. So
you can see the excitement in her face, and that from the picture of her surprise and excitement that I'm sure you all shared getting that award and being in the relocation industry. I'm really very familiar with that, getting that highest level of achievement, not just for you, but also with the company and the people
Absolutely.
that do represent you, because the realtors are actually the ones that do the work,
the
making sure
hard
the
work.
consumers, our clients are taken care of. Wow, fantastic. I love that. How about you, Jenny?
And that's good stuff. I love that. Mine's more professional in nature in the sense of, it was my first opportunity. I was leading marketing at the time, and we had a president and a CEO, 2 different roles. And it turns out we had a company event, and both of them were going to be out of town for different reasons. So they were like, oh, who's going to lead this company event? And so they said, hey, you're in charge. And I was like, what just happened? And so they said, yeah, you're going to speak in front of the whole company. We need you to present on this thing. And it was like a week later, and I was very nervous, and I was very young. And so I wanted to make such a good impression. And I mean, especially when you're young, you really want to set the tone, and it's a high stakes scenario. So anyway, I had gone to Chick-fil-A. It was early in the morning, and I was so nervous. I was waiting on my breakfast, And I'm like, man, Chick-fil-A, they are usually on it, but they are so behind. Why am I waiting? And the person at the window was like, ma'am, you already have your food. And I didn't realize it because I was so nervous. They had already given me everything. So I get to the place so early, and I want to make this impression, but I didn't really have like a great way to start it. So I told the story about what I had for breakfast. That's how I led. I was like, so let me tell you about what I had for breakfast. And I'm sure everyone was like, why did they send this person to hear from us? And so I told the story, and how I ended it was I had a chicken biscuit, but really I had egg on my face because it was my fault. Like Chick-fil-A did their part, and that led into just an easy entree to what I was talking about. But the value of that was, don't think you have to be so perfect. Everybody knows nobody has it together all the time. And sometimes if you just be a human, people can relate to you a lot better than if you always have it together. And so it was just a great reminder earlier in a very high stakes situation, show your human side, and it's okay. That's okay.
Gosh, I love your authenticity, and I love that you were so genuine. And that's really so true, because I think all of us can relate to somebody, a leader who really gets up there and just is themselves, right? And can talk from the heart. So I know all of you are risk takers. Obviously, you would not be in the role that you're in if you were not. So what is the biggest risk that you have ever taken? And Jenny, I'm going to go with you, and then Cheri, and then Regina.
Sure. I love risks are the things that keep me up at night, and you got to take them, especially as a leader. And you have to be the one that at the end of the day says, let's go. It's a little uncharted. It's very nerve-wracking, but we're doing it and we're going to make it successful. My favorite risks are always with people. And it's the most fun because I look at people sort of in a way that like they're an unpolished diamond. And I see things and I'm like, oh, there is goodness there. There's brilliance there. And so my favorite risks are taking people that are maybe not quite where they need to be, recognizing that the brilliance within, and then giving them an opportunity to soar. And that just fuels me. I love it. And it's my favorite by far part of what I get to do every single day.
Oh, wow. I love that. And you know what? I've never thought of it as a risk, but that is certainly so true when you bring somebody on, or a new agent, and realize there's really opportunity there, and you're taking that risk to help them, and you see it. And that is a huge, my mother used to say, that is a huge, skill, right? For you to be able to see other people deep down. It's a beautiful skill to have. So, I mean, I congratulate you, Jenny. Again, how about you, Cheri?
When I think of risks, and a lot of times a lot of us get an image of, that can be a bad thing, and right away that kind of gives off that vibe, and sort of along the lines of what Jenny was talking about too, is that in this job there are a lot of risks, and there's a lot of uncomfortable moments that you're taking that risk, and so every time that's there, I'm challenging myself with it to move it forward. But not only that, the team around me, because with each of those, there's an opportunity. Even if we've taken that risk and it doesn't work out the way we thought it would, there's still an opportunity in it. There's still a silver lining. You got to find that. In every single risk that we take, you got to find that, and you got to keep it moving forward. And that's the piece I really thrive on in this opportunity to lead a great group of people and an incredible organization is, okay, it maybe didn't work out exactly the way we thought it would. And some people want to beat up on that, or they want to get down on themselves. What did we learn from it? What did we learn, both good and bad? And how do we want to take that forward?
I love it. How about you, Regina?
Well, my biggest risk was before I was in the real estate business, when I got accepted to the business school at Villanova, and I turned it down to take a full-time management position, much to my mother's dismay. My mother was so upset with me, but my father, who was the perennial risk taker was the one who said, hey, you're going to get real life experience, and you can always go back to school. So yes, same thing. That has been said already. If you have to be in the right place at the right time. I took that risk. 2 years later, I went back to Villanova, and I would not have been at that country club and met all those people for everything to fall into place to what got me where I am today. So yes, it's the silver lining that Cheri talked about.
So true. So I know that sometimes people, and Cheri, you already said this about making mistakes, right? And we all make them, but others don't know that we make them, right? Sometimes people think that you're perfect. Have you ever, like, that you've never had a situation or you've never made a big mistake? So what is the biggest mistake that you have ever made or witness others, leaders make? And anyone that pipes, whoever wants to take that question.
I will jump in because it's never easy when we have to admit our mistakes, right? But I think that's an important piece when you can own it, when there is something. But I would say this, when I look back at things that have gone wrong or that I'm not as proud of, the underlying component, and I see this whether it's myself, not proud of that, or I watch it in others, pride and ego have gotten in the way. And I remind people of that around me too when something's going on. And I'm reminding myself of that today because we're in the middle of something where, I know what the right thing is to do, but that pride and ego is sitting over on the other shoulder saying, you know what, no, we got to fight. We got to fight. We got to fight. But like I said, there is that element that when you can set those aside, and that's hard to do, especially when you're in the moment. But I would say that for the mistakes that I've had, and there's many, that has been a component that has gotten me tripped up. And I watch that with other leaders as well, when they let those two components drive it instead of taking that pause, stepping back and really looking at it, which is what we need to do as leaders. Easier said than done though.
Yeah.
It is. Anyone else?
Well, I believe I'm the youngest of 6 kids, so I was always looking for my place in the whole pecking order of things, and so very social oriented, and so I would always be sharing. And you don't always need to share so much in order to make a personal connection, make meaningful connections in your life. And I guess the second thing I would say is, and especially today, there's so much information coming at us. There's so many articles and insights. And I was watching this session that Darren Hardy had on productivity mastery, and he said, you go wide enough and spread your net enough to garner enough exposure to help you with your wisdom, but then go deep. Don't spread yourself so thin with all of the distractions and the information, and go deep and be meaningful with something that super resonates with you. So I think that, I got a party to those distractions too. And I found myself like, what did I accomplish today? Stay focused and go deep with the things that resonate with you, and that are going to make the greatest impact. So I see a lot of leaders, not doing that time commitment, time blocking for the things that are really important.
Oh, I think that's good. Jenny, if you want to.
Sure. Yeah. You mentioned that our teams may think that we don't make mistakes. I'm pretty sure my team will tell you the mistakes that they see on a regular basis. So I'm glad that we're not interviewing them today. But I think that there is one of the mistakes I see is just not thinking that you know it all, because you can't. It's impossible. And being able to step back a little bit to what Cheri said about, I don't want to ever assume I know it all, because then I'm dead. We've stopped learning. And the irony is that as a leader, a lot of people come to us with, help me with this, give me counsel on this. And one day I remember a conversation that our GM and I were having, and we just started laughing because we were like, do you remember when we used to go and ask people for advice? We're those people now. What happened? And it was just a funny moment because you don't ever have all the answers. And that's the beauty of it, and continual learning. So I think that's always a takeaway for me, is just don't get in your own way.
Oh, great, great. I love all this great knowledge I'm getting. So one thing you kind of touched on a little bit is education. And I think it's really important, never stop learning, right? So how do we strive to get better? And, and has you ever taken a course or, something that you said, wow, this really, or anything that you've done that impacted you that you would recommend to other people? So either read this book or take this course or something that would be awesome for somebody else that would really help in their career development. They want to go into leadership or whatever, in personal, culture, whatever it is that you think. And anyone.
Do you mind if I chime in on this? Because I am so passionate about, this is such a weird thing, and my mother would be so proud. Etiquette. It is a lost art. And I think professionally that is really important to be successful. And we have opportunities within our employee base. And we had an employee, still do, who is amazing at this. And she actually led it for our organization. And I mean, everyone just felt so elevated. And so I would say, as simple as that is, it is a very, very powerful professional differentiator.
Oh, what a great, and it's so funny because I'm involved with ARIA, the Asian Real Estate Association, and we talked about etiquette and having someone come in and speak at one of the sessions, because for a lot of communities that are different communities, the etiquette that there are for different communities is also very different and part of cultural nuances. So I think what a great thing. Was it Karen McCrae by chance?
Well, she was certainly part of it. Yes.
Yeah, because she would be one of those. She's such great with etiquette. But how about anyone else? I love that.
Well, I'll chime in with kind of more of an overarching theme, and that is being present in whatever you're engaging in. So, put the phone away, put all the distraction is a big word for me today, but put all the, get all the distractions out. I have a sign that's on my door that's called Hour of Power, and because I don't close my door, my open door policy, but when that's closed and it's Hour of Power, it's I'm getting into that zone. So whether it was at a conference, attending sessions and being a sponge and learning from others, which is, I give so much credit to so many people throughout the years who I learned from, and I love to be able to give back to others. But being present in that moment or during that time is so, so important, especially today, I think.
Oh, so spot on. And I'm on the board for the National Women for in the Housing and Real Estate Ecosystem, and we have 10 disciplines, and one of them is being present, because that's so critical. There was recently, and I just want to share this story, about 2 years ago, prior to COVID, right? A gentleman walked into a Starbucks. He had a sign with him, and the sign said, "Whoever comes and asks me for this $100 bill that I'm holding in my hand, I'll give it to." And nobody looked up. Everyone at Starbucks was looking at their tablets, was looking at their phones. Nobody came to ask him for the $100 bill. So it's like being present is so important, because sometimes we're so busy, we don't take the time to pay attention to what's happening in our own environments. So again, we're almost out of time. Can you believe it? So I'm just going to ask one more question. And the one that I like is, what would you say has been the biggest impact in your career that you want to share with other women? Or who has made the biggest impact on your career? What person? Because you kind of touched on this, Regina. There are a lot of people you want to give credit, but who has been the one person that really, or groups that have really impacted you personally?
I will have to say Harry Caparo, who is that little Italian with loafers and no socks. He was small in stature. Anybody who knows him just knows what I'm talking. Small in stature, the biggest heart. He knew what his weaknesses were. He had street smarts. He didn't, graduate college. So he surrounded himself with people who were either smarter than him or just filled in those gaps. He believed in me to the nth. He just motivated and inspired me. It was kind of like we had this spirited competitiveness going on, and it kind of shone throughout the organization with his generosity and his belief in people, and then our competitiveness. Whenever we got these stacked rankings, we'd run in together and look at it. How are we going to win? Do this, that, and the other. And it was like a Fred and Ginger kind of dance. And everybody around us saw it and felt it. And of course, we wanted to inspire and empower them to feel and be the same and be a part of all that wonderful culture. So I would have to say him for sure. And then my dad, my salt of the earth, my hero, who lives with us now at 90 years old. And I couldn't be happier that I have my dad for the remainder of my time, his time.
I love that. Wonderful. Thank you, Regina. Jenny?
Yeah, there's so many people along the way. I mean, it is emotional when I think about it. And but I would say it really, for me, it was my first boss and my first colleagues, because I didn't realize how impactful sort of those people speaking into what professionalism looks like, how to be a good team member, how do you give input on your review? I mean, like the simple things. And I had so many great mentors early on that I felt like I was just so grateful and am so grateful for. And I use a lot of that to share with all of our team. You can make an influence on somebody just being here for 5 years, or in any role that you're in. And that was so powerful to me for my entire career. And I just hope to pay it forward and keep paying it forward.
Jenny, was that with the censure? Was that when you
Yes.
were? Yeah, that's great. That's great. I love that. How about you, Cheri?
I would say, a lot of great people and along my career path. One in particular who stands out is a woman named Marilyn Stewart, and she was the first broker that I worked for. I was entitled, but she commanded the office and everybody around. And what inspired me so much about her is, Jenny, as you talk about etiquette, she taught me so much about etiquette and about poise and polish and how to be a strong female leader, because she embodied that. She led Rotary. She was instrumental in bringing the college university to the local community. There was so much that she got involved with, both within the organization, but also within the community. An incredibly strong woman, female leader, and she taught me a tremendous amount. In addition to that, I would also add my parents.
And one thing, Cheri, that you just said, I think that really is so telling, and the fact that all of you are doing the same. So you learned from somebody who taught you how to be, or really kind of how to model that. I just want to thank all of you, because you're definitely all models for me. You are definitely someone, each of you just inspire me, and I look up to you and to the work that you do. And I'm just always impressed, and also thriving for knowledge and wanting to get to know you a little better. So I'm so glad I had the chance to do that with this vehicle that we have. And I know that you've inspired so many other women who are watching, and so many other people that are watching the show today. So as we round out, so again, my special thanks, because I love doing this, because I get to see and experience, right? With wonderful leaders that others may not get a chance or a glimpse to see. So last question I always end up with, because I love ending on a great note. tell me of a quote, of a book, of whatever that inspired you that you want to share with the audience. And Cheri, I'm going to start with you, Jenny, and then end with Regina.
For me, it's a couple of different authors. Patrick Lencioni is one, and John C. Maxwell is the other. Both phenomenal in just direction and on leadership. So I can't say enough about both. And when I can grab books from either of them, I do.
Which book would you recommend from Patrick and John? Like just one of that you think, oh, wow, this one is a must read.
Patrick Lencioni has one, and I'm drawing a blank on the full title, but it's Putting Your Team Together.
Perfect.
And sure you have a great team. Highly recommend it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Jenny?
I love The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. It was a life changer for me and still is. I read it regularly just to refresh. So much greatness in one amazing book.
Oh, and if you don't mind putting it in chat, we'll make sure we add it to our Facebook. And also, how about you, Regina?
I'm a big Simon Sinek fan, and I actually like all of his books, but I like watching him in TED Talks and being interviewed just because he's just so engaging and spot on. I mean, there's almost nothing that he says that isn't spot on, but he wrote this little book called Together is Better, and in there he said, he wrote, the excitement comes from achievement, and fulfillment comes from the journey that got you there. So think back on all the people who cheered you on and all the trials and tribulations that you all went through together, and the feelings that you all shared together. Like that's really where you draw kind of everlasting joy from, is what his message was. And I think that's a pretty cool message. Yeah.
Oh,
I have so many quotes I love. I
am a quote person. I get inspired by quotes, so I absolutely love it. And thank you so much. I had not heard that one. So, and anyway, thank all of you for sharing your insights, your leadership tips. You inspired everyone. You inspired me today, and it was so very special to have you on the show. And again, Cheri, thank you, because I know you are in the midst of an event and you actually took the time for our audience to be with us. So I really do appreciate that as well. And I love to share this quote with all of you by David Niven. True leadership strengthens the followers. It is a process of teaching, setting an example, and empowering others. If you seek to lead, your ability will ultimately be measured in the successes of those that you've touched all around you. Isn't that wonderful? I just think it's
awesome.
So perfect and great for all of you, because I think this speaks so true of what you've told me today. So I want to thank you for sharing your experiences, and our audiences for watching and for following our series. And I want you to join us again 2 weeks from today on August 4th, where we're going to be featuring some more influential leaders, and introduce you to some of our new leaders on our franchises that are running our brands, that are new to the franchise world for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. So stay tuned for more. And thanks again, all of you. And don't forget to join our Facebook page. We also have our YouTube channel. And remember my advice to always bring other women up the ladder with you as you climb to the top. Thanks again. Bye-bye, everybody, and have a great week.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.